Hey, everybody, welcome back to another episode of Vision Pros Live. I'm your host and coach, Fletcher Ellingson. I'm so glad you're here. I'm so glad that you're in this conversation because when we have these conversations with visionaries, it's a reminder of what's possible. And it's easy to lose track of that. So that's why we're here. We're here to remind you of what's possible, and we're introducing you to people who are making their visions come true. Today on the show, we have Samuel Thimothy from 1IMS. Welcome to the show, Samuel.
I'm super excited. Thank you so much for the opportunity.
Yeah. Before we get started, where are you calling in from today?
I am in Chicago. Well,
Okay.
everybody says Chicago, but it's like outside of Chicago, but a nearby suburb, correct?
All right. So Chicago. Okay. Well, thanks for being here. Before we jump into what you do and your vision, I want to hear something that's going well in your life, professionally or personally. There's a lot of uncertainty and suffering going on all around the globe. We want to remind people that there's still good happening, that there's still feel good things happening. And what's wrong with the world is always available. What's right with the world is always available. It's a matter of where we are putting our focus. So lay it on us, Samuel. What's something that's going well in your world?
Yeah, I'm a blessed man. I'm a married man with 5 kids that we were homeschooling our kids for quite some time. And we just finally put our oldest 3 kids to public school system. So, and just amazing to see how they're getting adjusted to the school world because they were always homeschooled for most of their lives. So that's what I would say is very positive for me at the moment.
Right on, right on. So there's a big adjustment in your family life, and
Yes.
you're seeing the kids adapt. The ability to adapt,
Mm-hmm.
man, that's something we really want to put some focus on. What's your ability to adapt? I'm just asking our viewers right now. Are you
Mm-hmm.
rigid, or can you go with the flow? Do you embrace change, or do you bristle at it? Because the answer, whatever your answer is,
Mm-hmm.
you're gonna learn something about yourself. Would you agree with that, Samuel?
100%. So our oldest son is 13. It's the first time he's actually going to a public school system. So he was homeschooled majority of his life, right? And he's starting in 8th grade, which was a big transition for the guy. And I can really relate to him because I was a timid guy all through my school years in college. I was not the extrovert I am today. I was totally an introvert, never really liked group projects. I've done everything on my own. And I kind of lived in a little bubble until I became a sales guy, right? You become an entrepreneur, your kind of a sales function is naturally your responsibility as an entrepreneur. Then I realized I can't live in my shell. I got to get out of my comfort zone. I got to put myself out there. So I've been taking him on networking events. I took him on a lot of networking events on business leaders with CEO people, and I dress them up, put them in nice blazer, put them in confidence, and I say, walk with your head up, just talk to people. And everybody appreciated him for just showing up to the events. And it was a big transition for him to just go from sitting at home doing his computer learning in a private setting to actually having to go in classroom setting. So just see him just make that transition and not be afraid of crowd and just adjusting to it was a very big win for me.
Oh, I absolutely appreciate that. I'm going to just pause here because I want to spotlight this for our listeners and our viewers. Consider what he just said. He deliberately took it upon himself to create opportunities for his son to begin practicing confidence.
Mm-hmm.
I'm all about the practice. My curriculum is called the practice of feeling good, right? And when I say
Mm-hmm.
good, I mean safe,
Mm-hmm.
enthusiastic, positive, optimistic, connected, courageous, right? There's a lot of ways of feeling good, right?
Mm-hmm.
Confident is one of them. And it just doesn't happen. We practice it. For a lot of people who are listening, they'll be like, oh boy, I'm really insecure in those situations. I want you to hear this. We are insecure in our adulthood because we are practiced at being insecure.
Mm-hmm.
We are masterfully practiced at it. What I love that you just said is I put my son in a new situation and I helped him I taught them how to be stand up straight, put your head up. We're going to learn how to get introduced. We're going to learn how to introduce. We're going to learn how to practice confidence. Now, the more we practice a way of being, the more it happens for us naturally. And so my hat's off to you for that. I love that. And especially as entrepreneurs, we've got to pay attention to our ways of being. And if they're not serving us, we need to practice some new ways of being. Yes or no?
100%. I think what I saw as a weakness going into entrepreneurship was I wasn't trained in ways of conducting myself in public and being a confident human being, right? When you walk into an entrepreneur, like a CEO's business room or conference room, you're surrounded by a bunch of senior leaders. How do I conduct myself? How do I position myself as a subject matter expert so I don't look like I don't have it figured out? And I had to learn that very, very fast, because when you're much younger than some of the people that you're probably sitting across from, they've probably been in business longer than you've been alive, and they have done multiple millions of dollars in businesses and things like that. So you're over there trying to make a case of why they should trust you and do business with you. If you don't exude confidence and you know what you're talking about, and you're going to take their money and deliver on the promise that you made, and you can't convey that to them, right? And if they cannot see that I can trust this individual who's in front of me, they're not going to do business with you. We always say it, right? People do business with whom they like and trust. And if you can't get them to like you and trust you, they're not going to do business with you. So that is a hard lesson I had to learn the hard way in my early days of trying to feed our family and building a company. And then I said, I don't want that to be the case for my children. I want them to learn, because obviously our public school system does not train you to have some of those things. They just teach you, sit in the classroom, listen to the teacher, do the homework, don't ever ask me a question, and you just do what I tell you, right? Never teaching our children how to ask questions, how to actually even shake somebody with firmness and actually say, appreciate me, thank you for meeting me, appreciate the opportunity, just being able to recognize a person and look them in the eye when you're talking, right? Like that shows a level of maturity that sometimes some people never learn in their lifetime.
Yeah, absolutely. And, a lot of us in business, we take some of those things you just said for granted, but we all had to learn it. We all had to learn it. We all had to practice it. Samuel, go ahead and, because I know some of the people listening are like, this guy's cool, man. He's got it going on. But what is it that you do? You work with a company called One IMS, which stands for Integrated Marketing Solutions. What does One IMS do?
Yeah, we're a growth agency. We help growth-minded leadership, right, go from obscurity to market dominance. So many of our clients who come to us, what they usually say, right? If only more people knew who we are, we'll be a much larger company than we are today, right? What they're describing is they have a lack of awareness problem. Not a lot of people knowing in their sphere of influence that company exists. So we take such organizations from obscurity to market dominance, and we have created what's called a growth formula framework. We help implement that in organizations. So we consider ourselves more of a tech-enabled growth agency.
Got it. All right, cool. Thanks for that. So a growth company, I like that. So if you're listening to this or watching this and you're a company that's like looking to scale, looking to grow, and I really appreciate what you just said. Usually there's some sort of problematic element of an inability to let your sphere know effectively about your company. So really cool. I like the way you said that. The show that we're on today is called Vision Pros. I just define a vision as a clarified story in the head, in the mind, that we effort to bring into the physical realm. And so what I want to know from you, Samuel, is what's your vision?
Yeah. I mean, I don't know if I will call it a vision or mission, but I'm on a mission to help 10,000 small business to go from obscurity to market dominance. And it could be done through education or through some sort of a service that we can offer. So I'm actually do create a ton of content myself and provide a lot of free webinars on education with that very mission of how do we help organizations? Because what most people don't realize is not the size of your wallet that matters. It's the creativity, right? It's the size of your brain cells. Can you be creative enough to get yourself known in the marketplace so you don't live in poverty mindset? You don't live in this fear of, tomorrow my company can close down, right? We want them to get them out of that, right? Like we said, go from obscurity to market dominance. And that can be done if you, with the proper system and training and knowledge, anyone can take a business from just basically surviving to a thriving environment.
Cool. Yeah. So your mission, you said, is to help 10,000 businesses thrive, right?
Mm-hmm.
So cool. And it's interesting. I'm saying what I'm about to say because I believe language matters.
Mm-hmm.
And you said, well, I'm not sure if I have a vision as much as a mission, but the mission stems from our vision.
Mm-hmm.
And as soon as you said, my mission is to help 10,000 businesses grow, I knew what your vision was,
Mm-hmm.
because you've already envisioned helping these 10,000 businesses. Like, you've envisioned your company growing, you guys scaling and reaching out and making an impact. So I love that you have this vision of making an impact for 10,000 businesses, and now has translated into a mission, and you guys are in action. And by the way, I checked out your website. I saw all, go to their website, oneims.com, and you'll see all these video testimonials of people who are singing your praises and who you have impacted. So congratulations on being in action.
Yeah, certainly is an overnight success, right? No, it's a 20 years in the making, right? That's kind of what I would say, right? It's a process of building trust, earning trust, and then delivering on the promise that you make to people. And once you do that, you will have customers who love you and refer you and continue to stay with you for a very long term.
Yeah. Let's talk about because there are people watching and listening, and they're like, yeah, I would love to go from obscurity into being well known. I'd love to expand my reach. If they're listening to this, they probably want to know, well, what are the sectors? What are the businesses that you are proficient at helping?
Yeah, our core focus has been in the B2B, business to business sector, but we've built a framework that's universally true. So in terms of our customer base, is a mixed bag of industry and manufacturing companies, technology and software, and professional firms. Those are who we typically work with. What we look at, right? What's the unique about all of them? They all have a high value product or services. They have a long sales cycle, which means it's not a compulsive purchase that somebody just make. Right? It's like 10,000, 20,000. Sometimes some of our clients are selling equipments that are worth millions of dollars, right? So it's a considered purchase process, and it's actually multiple decision makers involved in the process. So what they all have in common is they have to create awareness for their product or services. They have to earn trust in the minds of their customers and become the go-to product or service provider, right? That's where we shine the best. But the framework we built is called our growth formula framework. It's very simple: acquisition plus retention equals growth. So if I can just explain just slightly, right? If any company that is focused only on acquisition, but they do a very poor job of retaining, growing existing account, they tend to stay stagnant or even may not even grow at all, right? So acquisition is, most companies in the early days very focused on acquisition. If some companies are very poor, like in manufacturing sector, they're not very focused on customer acquisition. They're very good at delivering on the promise, do what they say, and do it very good for good work for a good handful of customers. They do a great job of retention, but they do a very poor job of acquisition. So when there's one customer one day decide that they don't want to do business with them or cancel the contract, immediately they're in trouble because, oh shoot, we got to now cut down the number of shifts that we have to lay off some people. So you have to be, as a company, doing acquisition efforts and retention effort consistently. Then only you can have consistent growth. So we have some methodology and practices that we implement to actually execute that framework in organizations.
Yeah, really cool. I like the way you break that down. So, and this is foundational and a principle that you want to continue to come back to, whether you're a startup or whether you're well established. And thanks for articulating it so precisely. I just want to recap it because I want to bring a spotlight to that for our viewers. Acquisition and retention. If we focus on one and not the other, we're in trouble. There has to be this dual focus. Yes?
Yes.
Yeah. So and companies, like you said, some companies are great at acquiring, not so good at retention. Others, when they get a client in, man, that retention is good, but they're not so great on the acquisition part.
Yeah.
And that's, so what you're saying is your company has a framework for helping kind of mature in that process of hitting both. Is that accurate?
Yeah. So when we go into a company, we are assessing their kind of what we call their growth readiness, right? Where are they as a company in their maturity in marketing and sales and all of those areas? Well, we come to find out, right? Companies that are in an established market, there's existing demand for their product or services. They have a tremendous opportunity to capture existing demand from the market, right? So without getting too technical, if you take your total addressable market, let's just say there's 100 companies that you can sell to at any given time. Only about 1 to 3% of that total addressable market in a buying cycle. The rest of the 97% people, either they don't know that they need help, or they kind of know, but they're not actively in the buying cycle, or they might be researching and learning more about it, right? So the 97% of the people are not in the market. Many times, most companies are ignoring those people. That's the biggest audience a lot of times that you can actually educate by creating content, distributing that content, get in front of them, help them articulate the problem that they're experiencing, but they don't even know how to say it to their own peers, right? So that's the 97%. And then the 1 to 3% of the people, they know they have a problem. They're going to Google, they're going to search engines of any type, ChatGPT or anywhere. They're describing their problem and saying, who can help me solve this problem? You want to be getting found with those people. So what we do on the acquisition side, capture existing demand from the in-market audience, and then create awareness in the out-of-market audience who are not in an active buying cycle. They need to know you exist. So if you do that, you're actually taking care of both of those audiences. And ultimately, when the 97% of the people, once they become warm and ready to buy, who are they going to think first? Oh, I've been watching this guy's content. I've been learning from their webinars. I've went to their website. I watched their testimonial videos. I use some of their free resources. Yeah, I do remember they can take care of our needs. Let me go to them, right? So your chances of winning those deals are much higher because you've done so much to educate and kind of evangelize to that audience for a very, very long period of time. And then you also don't want to ignore that 1 to 3% who are right now in the market to buy. You want to make sure you're capturing those. So we look at the maturity of a business and see where's the biggest opportunity for win. And then we want to focus on those quick win opportunities. So that's the acquisition side of the equation. Great. And I can give you a little bit more on the retention if you want me to explain that.
Well, I want to say something because some of our clients, or some of our listeners, they might be saying like, I get it intellectually, and I just haven't been good at it. I have not been good at this. What I want to remind people is this is not your fault. It's not your fault that you suck at acquiring and or retention. You see, I mean, business owners and as entrepreneurs, you're not expected to be able to wear all hats, and yet you have to many times. But if you really are flailing at acquisition and or retention, I just want you to hear this. It's not your fault, but it's 100% your responsibility. And the reason I'm saying it's not your fault, and this is the good news, it's because many business owners are passionate about the widget or the service that they're offering. They're passionate about it. That's why they got into it, right? But many, and maybe it's even the majority, I don't know, and I'm raising my hand because this is me, is that I didn't formally get an education on business, on how to run it, on how to acquire or how to retain. I didn't spend 4 years studying that, or 8 years studying it, and so I don't have all those skill sets, or I'm operating from what I don't know. I don't know, right? And so it's not my fault, but it's 100% my responsibility. And so what I love about companies like yourself is you do have the knowledge,
Mhm.
and you can impart it and mentor and coach and help guide people who are ready to take responsibility, right?
Mhm.
um, and I love that you said you look at a company's growth readiness.
Mhm.
Yeah, tell me, I like that term, growth readiness, and I'm encouraging our listeners to hear this.
Yeah.
What is my growth readiness? What is my company's growth readiness? What is my growth readiness as a just an individual person? What's my growth readiness? Am I ready for growth? And you can apply this right to your
Mhm.
marriage, to your parenting, to your friendships, to my business. Like, what's your growth readiness? What an awesome term.
Yeah. So I can give you some real world stories of how this is in comes to true. So we have customers that come and self-diagnose a problem. Oh, we just need more leads so we can sell more, right? And then the solution is, well, let's figure out how to drive more leads to this organization. But they don't necessarily have understanding of the root problems that they might have that is probably holding them back from the growth trajectory. What I mean by that. So let's say if I drive a ton of leads, and we had a manufacturing company that was in Chicago that did industrial flooring solutions. They said, "Oh, we if only we had more leads. Our salespeople are just really good at selling the product." We were able to solve for that lead problem. What we ended up discovering was that they had a very poor sales process. They did not have a very well established sales methodology. They didn't have a tool set to track the sales metrics and performance. So what ended up happening is inefficiency in the sales process really destroyed that sales organization, because all they did was just squander the opportunities that were thrown at them, right? Because they didn't know what to do because they had too many leads to handle. So if you're not ready to handle the volume, just don't say, oh, we need more leads. You got to solve for all of those things. Another thing is, if you don't have baseline metrics, what if I am able to drive leads, but if you can't tell me what's my typical percentage of from an initial visit to my website to converting into a form fill to initiating a booked meeting to having qualified as a prospect that can buy to proposal stage to closed one lost or closed one, right? Closed lost or closed one. If I don't have baseline metrics of what those metrics are, how do I know where my weakness is? How do I
Mhm.
know where is my biggest problem? Is it a sales personnel problem? Is it a process problem? Is it my product problem? Or is it my pricing problem? Where is the problem? Because you don't know. Like, if the process, what does salespeople always say? Oh, they didn't have the money, or they weren't ready to buy. But they will never admit, oh, I have a problem with my sales methodology. I'm not sure how to do discovery. I don't know how to position the product or business properly. They will never acknowledge that. And they will always point finger at the marketing leader and say the leads were bad. So if you're not ready, you just got to recognize that. Like what you said, it's not your fault, but it's your responsibility. So the leadership has to recognize we have a problem. Our salespeople are order takers. They're not well educated in how to handle a discovery call or how to do a sales performance or like sales conversation. If they're not good at it, acknowledge that, and you need to own it and fix it, right? So me throwing more leads or implementing a marketing program isn't going to solve their revenue growth problem. They have to be ready to handle that future growth. So that's where,
Mhm.
right? So when we're doing assessment, we're looking at the areas of the business where they actually have opportunity to win. And then we can only fix the things that we can fix. We cannot fix their personnel problem. That is an internal HR dynamics that they would have to handle, right? Those are the kind of things that we look at from a readiness standpoint.
Right on. I love how you articulated all of that, and because it's giving our listeners an opportunity to self-identify, right?
Mm-hmm.
I'm totally like, is this me? I can see a lot of this in myself. I'm an entrepreneur. I have a very small team, but yeah, I'm internalizing all of this and self-identifying. I encourage our listeners to ask yourself this question too. Like, this is an opportunity to expand. Like, is this me? And and if the answer is yes, then that's not a point of shame or embarrassment. This is
Mm-hmm.
this could be your greatest opportunity to get to have an honest conversation with yourself. Because what I heard you say is the myth or the misconception that most companies think, God, if we just had more leads, if we just had more leads, right? No, no,
Yes.
no. It's if I had more leads and had a process for handling them effectively,
Mm-hmm.
And that's what many companies are missing. And that's what I'm hearing you say, right?
100%. I think if you were in the medical field and if I self-diagnose a problem and go to the doctor and say, give me this prescription, they call that malpractice in the medical field. But we do it in the business world every day. We allow the customer to decide for themselves what the solution should be. But oftentimes, like you said, the business owner that's running some sort of a whatever manufacturing software, they're good at that craft, but they need to understand they don't know everything. So they need to go to professionals and ask, hey, I have these issues. What do you think is the solution to the problem? And oftentimes that is not happening. And they're just describing a need and telling the buyer, like whatever the service provider, oh, I need this, give me that, right? That's where we see a lot of times business leaders fail because they're just not open-minded to willing and ready to listen to somebody else. And also just one advice, a lot of times as a buyer, oftentimes we see the salesperson as a threat. I have to hold all my card. I don't want to disclose my weaknesses and my problem because they're going to use that against me. But don't ever have that attitude. If you're genuinely caring about someone else to come and help you, you be genuine and open about what your problems are, because the more you can disclose about your challenges, the person on the other end has a lot more conversations than you about the same problem with hundreds of other companies. They can tell you, hey, in this scenario, we did this for that company and that helped them get to the next stage. So be very open-minded and just be genuinely interested in seeking help. And nobody's there to criticize you. Like you said, it's you own the problem. And if you seek the help, there's hundreds of professionals out there that can actually help you get the help you need.
Yeah, right on. And one last final thought on that about asking for help. One of the things I always say is, many times, well, at least in our country, the concept of asking for help, many of us, especially men, have been grown up and told like, you got to just do it yourself, figure it out yourself. Asking for help is a sign of weakness. I'm here to tell you that asking for help is a sign of strength and wisdom. So yes, get in contact with Samuel and his team. Go to oneims.com. book a discovery call, have a conversation, and find out if they can assist you and assess your growth readiness and see if you're ready to go to that next stage. Samuel, we're just coming towards the end of our time here, but again, please give us how to get in touch with you and any last closing thoughts.
Yeah, obviously oneims.com, like you gave, that's the main website. And please find me on LinkedIn. I do put out a lot of educational resources there. And I also have a show called Coffee with Closers where I interview entrepreneurs. So please do look that up on YouTube, and hopefully you'll find some nuggets of wisdom from some interviews I've done with other entrepreneurs.
Right on. Thank you so much for being on the show. Our guest today has been Samuel Thimothy from OneIMS. You can connect with him at oneims.com. And now it's time for you all to get out there, be a source of kindness, be a source of contribution. You do have something to offer this world, and I believe in you.
Thank you for being here today. I'm really happy that you tuned in to Vision Pros Live. I'm looking forward to seeing your reactions as these episodes continue to move forward. This is going to get more and more fun. We'll have more and more engagement as well. We'll invite people to participate in the show. And thank you for giving us your time and attention. Have an excellent time building out your vision and becoming a Vision Pro yourself.